I'm going to go over a PSA agreement that this was the exact contract that I went from one house to 41 houses, sold the KB homes for $1.25 million. There's other contracts as well, ranging all the way up to $2 million, but I just want to break down this particular contract so you could actually see what does it take to actually take one house that was on 9 acres and how I structured this deal. And so breaking it down into 2 pages, and it was a creative financing deal. So, all right, let's take some notes as well if you can. I just kind of want to show you that this is not crazy complicated, but you do kind of have to be a little bit creative. And there is a structure to my acquisition process. But I can promise you that you're going to leave here with a way better understanding on this training video that I at least want to show you what does this look like. Okay, so the very first thing, and let me collapse this real quick, is this is the actual agreement that I got under contract, okay? And I did sell this to KB Homes for $1.25 million. Now, to break down a contract, there's several examples. There's the $650,000 example. There's the $950,000 example that I did creative financing on this one as well. And then there's the $2.5 million example. I'm only going to go over this one example, the $650,000, and I'm going to break this down because a lot of times what I find is investors or even soon-to-be developers, they really think it's extremely complicated. But if you look at the flow of a contract, and especially the simplicity of at least the one that I had to create, because what I found was the problem that I saw was a lot of sellers would not want to sign long contracts. They would always say, can I talk to my attorney? Can I talk to that? It's too long, 12 pages, 10 pages, 14, whatever that looks like. It's just way too long. And even on commercial deals, and I've done a lot, they feel the same exact way. So I'm going to break down what I did, and I'm going to break down the exact contract, like just breaking it down. So the first thing was her name, Nancy Rosenblum. What I found too was a couple things. Number one, you always want to double and triple check who the owner is, right? And she's a POA, meaning you have to put that in. If in the legal description it says POA, put that in there. The other thing is make sure you're putting the parcel ID number in there. That is crucial. If you miss that parcel ID number, you can literally screw up the entire deal. So don't do that. You want to make sure that you actually have the parcel ID number in there and you're not messing that up. Just because there could be multiple parcel ID numbers just on one property. If you don't believe me, let me give you just a quick example of what does that look like. So for example, here's this one. So for example, this one on this property, look, 2 exact addresses, right? Parcel ID number is only 1 number off. But if I missed that 1 number, I lost 39 acres of that property. It was a 129 acre property total. So that is kind of a big deal. You do not want to miss that, right? So going back to this right here. All right, so we agreed at $650,000, right? And she agreed to seller financing. So on my contract, what I found, I didn't find any contracts that had seller financing clauses on there, so I created one with my attorney, obviously. And so I keep it as simple as possible. On here, just put closing is, see the provision for details. Then I have the seller is responsible to pay their portion of the closing costs and prorate the proceeds and any kind of fines or liens, right? And then obviously she signed. Then here is the details of the contract. Really difficult, right? 2 pages. But the creative side is when you're having that conversation with a seller, your goal is really just to understand number one, what is their goal? And then what are the facts of the deal, right? So I go into number one, what is goal? Then what is facts? And then I want to find a fast, low, creative solution to it. So that's kind of the avenue that you always want to go. You always want to make sure, number one, what is their goal? Number two, what is the facts of the deal? Number three, fast, low, creative solution. She went creative. So then now we go back into the goal and it was like, all right, well, now I need to find out what does she need right now, right? What are the payment schedule? What does that look like? So I put seller financing terms apply on the sale. Then what I'm doing right here, $1,000 deposit, first payment Now, if you see, I had this property under contract in November, right? And so my first payment is going to be in July for $29,000. So it gave me some time on the due diligence side so I can get to work. Then I put another payment in September, right? So then she gets another payment, 25,000, then 50,000, then another 50,000, then with 50,000, then 45,000. But if you see, I'm spacing this out almost 2 years for a total of 250. Then June 25th, we can discuss, or does she just want the remaining $400,000? Now, if you see here too, I'm not putting interest. I pay interest to banks. I'm not paying it to people. So we had that discussion as well. So she signed, I signed, boom. Now we actually have a deal, right? Now later on, I actually sold this property to KB Homes for $1.25 million. There's a whole different story on that one as well. I just wanted to break down basically when it deals with a contract. And when you're dealing with a contract, I kind of want to break down just the sections of this agreement. Now, if you're ever going to transfer over to, hopefully this is, there we go. When you transfer over to residential, then go to commercial, specifically like developments and whatnot, contracts are called PSAs. They're not called contracts anymore. They just call them PSAs. Everything is a little bit abbreviated in the world of commercial. So just get kind of used to it. So the first, and that just means purchase sales agreement. Just because they also say horizontal and vertical whenever dealing with projects and all this other kind of things. So it's all good. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just something to understand and know what they're saying and what they're doing. So again, we already went over the contracts. We went over the creative terms of the contracts, and we both signed and agreed. Now, the acquisition process, this actually came from a referral, and then from a referral, this then went all the way through the entire process of referral, scheduling an appointment. Then after scheduling the appointment, I saw the property, liked the property, and then right there and then we started getting on the contract. What I always found is the absolute best deals are always going to be face-to-face, because then people know, like, and trust you, period. Once they know, like, and trust you, now you get your foot in the door. So what matters now is just creating terms that are a win-win scenario for all people. So the beginning of this is obviously the agreement. Never miss the person's name, the legal description, or the name that is on the property appraiser's office. You do not want to miss that. If you have a hard time with that, I use a system called Landglide sometimes. And so if you just go on Landglide, but actually you type in the address, it'll take you right where the property is located. Then you've got the property description. Never miss the parcel ID number. You do not want to miss that ever, right? Then you've got purchase price. Now, if it's owner financing, just put that down. What is the owner financing? And you could put see addendum for details. I always do that. Subject to the existing mortgage. You could put subject to existing mortgages is 205 or below, right? So you're just putting in their earnest money. You're keeping it as simple as you possibly can and breaking it out. Earnest money as well. Where is it going to escrow at? And put the phone number down. Again, they need to know, like, and trust you. So all you got to do is literally put the phone number down to the title company. Who are they? You're not doing a new loan. If you were, then you could put the actual schedule of that. Even though we did seller financing, technically it's kind of a new loan. And so I put the exact amount. But I also wanted to put the terms in the back of the contract. And that's what we did. We didn't take over the existing loan, but on my contract, it has that. And then we put the closing date, who's paying for what, right? Probably the most crucial thing that I like about my contracts, and you could use this too, right here. It's called broom-swept condition. So you want to use that term, broom-swept condition, because a lot of times people will leave their properties in really bad condition, and that sucks, and you don't want that. So what you want to do is you want to kind of keep them honest and say, look, there can be, I've usually put anywhere from a $500 a day penalty if the property is not cleaned out and if it doesn't look good in a sense of what we agreed upon. So broom swept condition is like I could take a broom and sweep it, and you want it to be great, especially if people keep a lot of stuff on the outside of their property. You just want to make sure that this little disclaimer is in there, broom swept condition. Inspection period, you've got that down. Access to the property, yep. All properties are always assignable. So there's already a quote on here, because even if you have to assign it to your land trust, another entity, that's technically an assignment. That's what you want to put there. Whatever your governing law is under your state, you always want to put that in there. And then there is also disclaimers, like if they don't allow you on the property to get for the due diligence, and you always want to get an inspection. These are all disclaimers within the agreement, and you want to make sure your contract is just as simple as possible. Then you've got your seller's representation. So these are kind of like legal terminology as well, just to make sure like, hey, everybody's on the up and up. And I always recommend too, side note, little bonus, make sure you get what they call a contractual notice of agreement. That just means that, hey, you can actually file a lien on their property saying, hey, we have a contract on this property. So if they're trying to resell the property to somebody else without you knowing, that's not going to happen. And that's happened to me before. That's why I started using the notice of contractual agreement as well. Risk of any loss, this called liquid damages if something comes up. And then you just want to put your provisions. What does that actually look like? So going back to mine and then the contract, then signing, right? Right here. Let's see here. Did I lose it? No. Okay, here it is. On this right here, again, you're allowed to be creative. You're allowed to put in there whatever both of you guys create together, but you have to come up with something. That's the whole purpose of the seller financing. And just come up with, you could keep it as simple as possible. Hey, what is the least amount of cash you need right now? Because I've got to get due diligence. I've got to get stuff done. But if we do the seller financing, this is what it's going to look like. And people sometimes really like seller financing. Look, right now, I actually think seller financing are going to be a big thing. Some people call it subject to, some people just call it creative financing. I believe the acquisition of assets right now that you could actually own with creative financing is going to be the future, because it's harder and harder for banks to get loans. More and more people have been through financial stuff just in the last couple of years, and it's going to get more difficult. So I hope this video gives you a guide on what you can and cannot do, right? Probably more of the can. Just structure it differently. Be creative. So if you're interested in something like this and you're interested in getting a better acquisition process and system, then definitely I've got something for you then. So you can keep on watching this. So I run a company called trueinvestors.com and True Investors Development. So I'm an active real estate. This is my jam. So that is, that's my signature, right? So these are my contracts, and I've got a lot more. I'm going to go over more in other areas, but my goal was I wanted to find the perfect acquisition process that could work anywhere, and I did. And I'm not just saying that, but literally I have data to prove it. So if you actually go to my website, trueinvestors.com, which we'll go to it right now, trueinvestors.com, you will see over 117 plus case studies of deals that I've done. From new developments, I did the first butterfly roof homes and et cetera. So if you're interested in the entire acquisition process and you actually want leads that actually close, me and my team, we actually take care of your entire back end. So we actually take care of all your marketing online, make sure that you're getting lead to cash in bank as quickly as possible. So it goes from lead to scheduled appointment to signed agreement to cash in bank. And a part of this process in the system, I actually do mentor you. So I have a school community. You get on the community. We discuss your properties. I'm on there all the time. And we just make sure that you're getting a win-win scenario. And you know what to do. What if you come up with a land agreement? You don't know how to write it. What if you come up with a piece of land? You don't know how to divide it. So if you're already spending money on marketing, at least $7,500 or more, we may be the right fit. So just fill out the application and we can talk. If you're not, I really hope that you're getting something out of this and that you could use these thought process, these creative terms to just unlock a different level in yourself to do more creative deals and just put yourself out there. I really believe real estate still is the way to go, period. And hopefully this video kind of gives you insight on how to write creative contracts. It doesn't matter the amount, even if you don't have the money, you could always figure it out. Good deals always find money. You don't always have to find the money per se in a sense of in the beginning of the deal, but once you lock something up and you know it's worth something that's a lot more than that sheet of paper that you have under contract, you're gonna be more than fine. So again, my name is Franklin Cruz. If you're interested, go to trueinvestors.com. And you can check out the case studies anyway. All right, bye.